she's saying, hey, Brian Kelly has a place. His wife has a gift shop right on the corner there in Grayton Beach. I'm like, oh, really? That's pretty cool. You know, I had no idea. So anyway, we go there, and I walk off. So I go into the store. Me and Kath walking in the store. Kath buys something because she's trying to support Mrs. Kelly or whatever we're doing. So she buys something, and we go in the store, and I'm walking around. I go out, and they're like, yeah. And he's got a concert. He's going to have a concert in the back. So I'm like, okay, I'll walk out in the back. There's a little stage in the back, and there's like some, I think it's like fake grass or whatever, just a small little area. And it says Brian Kelly, you know, performing live on this day, whatever. And I'm going, freaking hey, Brian Kelly can sing, play. I didn't know that. So I'm like taking pictures, and I'm sending it to Brian Kelly. I'm sending all these pictures to Brian Kelly. And then I'm going, you know, I get on the stage, you know, Brian Kelly, you know, I'm just kind of having some fun. I'm like, you know, hey, and I sent all this to Brian Kelly, all right? Well, then the guy that was with my brother, he's walking over because Cass said something about, I don't know what she said. I just can't believe that Brian Kelly, this is really cool. And she's, and you know, like, we know we played them or something in the opener or whatever to the guy, and he's like, what? And as it turns out, there's another Brian Kelly. And he's like, what's the band? Anybody know? It's something Florida Georgia Line or something. I think it's called Florida Georgia Line or Georgia Florida Line Band. Florida Georgia Line Band, and he's like a lead singer or something. And I've even heard their songs, but I don't know all these people's names. But I have no clue. So so now Kath goes, babe, it's Brian Kelly's a singer with Florida Georgia Line. And I went, what? I've been fired all these pictures off to Brian Kelly. He's over there probably going, what the hell? This is an idiot. What is this dude doing? So anyway, good spirit. He doesn't know this. He'll know this now. But I was going to wait and tell him this when we got to, you know, midfield or whatever. But this will save me we can just laugh about it. So I'm thinking this is like the Brian Kelly. I'm like, wow, he's going to perform live, a small crowd. His wife's got a shop. And so finally he sends me a text. He's like, yeah. He's like, man, that was great. He said, yeah, you just can't get away from Brian Kelly or something like that. And I'm sure he was like, I have no idea what the context of this is. But anyway, and then I realized that it wasn't him. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, we'll have a laugh over that. But and to the actual Brian Kelly of Florida Georgia Line, hey, come play in the Valley sometime, man. I'd love to see you. But anyway. What was your question? I forgot. But you brought Brian Kelly up, and I spent it in my head all summer. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an idiot.
I don't think it matters now. I can't follow up that story.
I don't know what the question was. What was it? Something about expectations.
You're getting a lot of national love now, which maybe the past couple of years Clemson wasn't getting in the same way. How do you deal with that and talk about that with your team?
I mean, we've been a target around here for a long time. I mean, whether they're talking bad about you, talking good about you, it doesn't matter. Expectations are always high here. They always have been. And they're all big. And if you don't believe that, just lose one. You'll find out how big they are at Clemson. They're all big. You know, they're all big. Everybody's going to talk a lot about LSU game. Lose to Troy, you'll find out how big Troy is. They're all big. So the expectations are high every single year. It's just a part of being at Clemson. Some years they talk good about you. Some years they talk bad about you. But that doesn't have anything to do with the expectations. They're still going to be high at Clemson. So that's just a part of it. We embrace that. But as I always tell these guys, headlines this time of year, it's all based on opinions and potential. The headlines that matter are the ones that are written on performance. And those are the ones that ultimately matter in the end. It's fun to talk about. A lot of good stuff. It's what makes college football really cool. So much passion and interest and narratives and storylines and all these things and predictions and all that's part of it, and it's fun. But in the end, for us, what does our performance say? What did we earn? We're going to earn the headlines that matter.
Coach, we spoke a year ago, and I asked you about Christian Bentancur in the tight end room, and you said you believed he had the chance to be special. Now, with him, Olsen, Pat Henry, and a bunch of other talented players slated to take over that production that you're losing with Jake Brenningstool, what's your evaluation on your tight end room as of right now?
I think it's a very deep group. It's an exciting group. Olsen is a guy that is kind of he and Sapp. Nobody really says much about Sapp, but Sapp's a good football player, and he's a productive guy when he's had opportunities. Not as big, but he plays bigger than he is. He's very savvy, very instinctive. Olsen is I think he's really talented, and hopefully he'll take that next step for us. I'm really proud of him. He's a committed guy. He's a leader. Christian is special. There's no question about it. I mean, I've seen enough out of him, and we played him as 4 games last year, but with Brenny, we were able to hold him. Hopefully we can do that with Logan. We got another kid named Logan Brooking, who I think is special. But, hopefully we can kind of play him some, but maybe, hold him and steal a year. That'd be great. You just don't ever know. But I think those, Olsen and Sapp and Christian, it's a really good group of guys in that room. And then, you've got Logan. We'll see where he is. Obviously, Chef coming over. I can't wait. I probably should have said that. That's something else I'm looking forward to, is actually getting on the football field with Chef and seeing him in full pads. That's going to be a lot of fun. See if he'll actually block somebody. I don't know. But just see what he's going to look like in our drills and our 7-on-7s and, true RVA and things like that. I'm really looking forward to that. So I think that's a really good group. Banks Pope is back. He's another, savvy veteran. We got a kid named Charlie Johnson that I think is emerging and developing for us as a depth guy. So it's a good room. Got all the pieces that we need.
Coach, when somebody like Brian Kelly says something like, the real Brian Kelly says something like that.
Real Brian Kelly.
Is that bulletin board material that you use, or is that more ignore the noise and go forward? How do you treat it with the team?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to even use anything. I mean, these guys live in a world now where it's like, it's not like I got to walk in and say, oh, guess what I heard? I mean, these guys all live in the world. We don't really focus on that stuff. I mean, we're just trying to, it's, again, there's always fuel for the fire, and you can take whatever you want, whatever. Everybody's different. They can be motivated by, different things along the way. Michael Jordan used to make stuff up, right? Those of you who follow Michael Jordan, he'd just make stuff up, whether it was true or not, because that was how he motivated himself on some things. But everybody's different in that regard, but that ain't gonna have nothing to do with blocking and tackling and executing on game day. So it makes it fun, but just go focus on what we got to do.
Coach Allen talked about a moment the two of you had in the spring, watching back I think it was a highlight of a defensive play, and he said all 11 guys flew to the ball, and that's what he wanted to see, and you guys kind of saw the potential in that. What's it going to take to kind of do that more consistently this fall camp?
Just one day at a time. I mean, you coach it every day. You demand it, and you always say you get what you inspect, not what you expect. And you got to coach it every day, demand it every day, and you create your game habits in practice. You don't create game habits on game day. Game habits are created in practice. So you got to practice that way. You got to coach that way every day, and if you do that, you got a good chance for it to carry over. And then you have accountability. It's one of the things we do. We'll come in on Monday, and you don't want to be on the loaf tape. So it's a daily thing as you're, this time of year, every single practice, and especially when you're gonna have the type of competition. There's a standard that we expect, and got to hold everybody to the standard.
Coach Jordan Sorrells was talking earlier about the new landscape of college athletics, and two things that he mentioned were salary cap and contracts. Do you agree with him on those two? And also, when it comes to those two things, do you see that gaining any traction in the near future when it comes to college athletics?
Oh, man, who knows where everything's going. I think all I can tell you is we're in a better place right now than we were last year. That's for sure. And, I think that there is a cap. I think you got to drive the car. The 4 power conferences have created a new college, what's it called? College Sports Commission, I think is what it's called, and they've invested a lot of resources in putting that together. And so there's an infrastructure that has been put in place, but waiting on the settlement to happen to really activate. And I think it's, I mean, we're all as coaches hoping that I'm sure we got to drive the car a little bit, and I'm sure there's some kinks and things that have to be worked out. But I think everybody wants some structure. We're coming out of an era where there's been zero. There's been no structure, no transparency, no rules, none. And if there were rules, they weren't enforced. I mean, nobody knew them. So it's just kind of do whatever you want. And now we're, appears to be heading into an era where there is supposed to be some transparency and some structure and consequences, but, I guess, again, we just got to, it might take another year for it to really kind of settle because a lot of people front-loaded a bunch of money and, so, the cap really doesn't start till July 1, and people knew that and anticipated that. So we'll see. It might take a year to really kind of sort things out and fall into place, but anything will be better from a structure standpoint than what we've had because we've had zero.
Coach Mike Houston, he has a lot of experience, Mike Houston, a lot of experience in Western North Carolina where we are. What made him attractive to bring on this year?
I met Mike a long time ago when he was at Lenore Ryan. He came down here, and that was the first time I met him. And so I've just kind of tracked him from then. And when he was at James Madison, I had him come speak to our clinic. So just a guy that I've always had a lot of respect for. And he reached out to me. And, when he reached out, I had a conversation with him. And I'm like, this is something you want to do. It'd be a good opportunity, good fit for us. And so, he's got a couple years left on his contract. So that's a